I love the subtle leans to the RPG genre that this game has. You know what I mean? There's a part of me that remembers cutting down trees for 70 hours in RuneScape to get that.
And I'm still playing RuneScape.
I know, dude. You're still fighting those crabs, dude. You're still fighting those crabs. And
21-year anniversary. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pogcast, a show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I am one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam, an Escape from Tarkov content creator.
And I'm Veritas, and despite the fact that countless folks refer to me as an Escape from Tarkov OG, I am, in relation to our fantastic, handsome guest here, not even remotely an OG. I'm a baby. Here we got DeadlySlob. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
Dude, what's up, man?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm the grandpa. I'm the grumpy grandpa of Tarkov, I guess, these days.
Dude, doing the history of Tarkov videos that I've been doing. I've taken a little bit of a break because I've been working on some other stuff, but it's so funny how, like, part of what I did was just go to Google and type in, like Escape from Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov, guides and whatever, and I'll just go to Google and literally just limit the search results between, like, January and December of like 2006, 7, 17, 18, just like going forward through all that stuff. And it's one of the first videos I found was like one of your OG guides where you're just like, here's how to build the best AK. And there's like 3 parts for it.
Dude.
And
that dude, it's crazy how far it's come, because like in some weird way, we almost have like, it's so there's so much to it, like OG or not. Like there's like 3 generations. Like when I came, Veritas was an OG and you were an OG. I saw you guys the same. And when Veritas came, you had been playing. And it's so funny to see like how much has changed in the game in the just few years I've been playing, in the time Veritas been playing, and I'm sure since you've been playing, it's like almost a completely different game.
Man, it's like you guys know way more about this game now than I do. I think it was a lot easier back when you only had a few weapons and a couple mods.
Yeah.
And 3 maps and like, I don't know, under 50 missions. It was like you just getting done of the game was just so much faster. And now it's like incredible how much stuff is actually packed into Tarkov. So hats off to you guys these days making all the guides. I've kind of taken a bit of a backseat on that kind of stuff these days, and I don't know, just I get creative. That's kind of what I do, man. I'm just like doing the Tarkov test kitchen stuff,
dude,
and seeing what cool stuff the community comes up with. So that's kind of where I'm at. But it's fun to look back at the beginning, just to really see like how far the game's come. And it's a long way, man. It's a long way.
Yeah. So fast forward to like, where we are right now. How has the game been feeling to you? The progression throughout the wipe, all the stuff, the quests and skills and stuff. How's it all feeling?
I think it's the best Tarkov's ever played. I think I underestimated how much inertia was a positive impact on the game. I was a bit worried that like we'd still have the same problems, but like, inertia would just be this kind of thing that we'd all focus on for a couple weeks and then kind of move away from it. But you could see like the lasting effects on PvP, especially that like being aggressive is still very powerful. I mean, violence of action, most powerful
100%.
Tarkov. But I feel like there's more choices you need to have, like when to attack, when to be in cover, when to play slow, when to be covert. And then also that paired with the recoil changes on top of that, especially like, can't just always run those meta HKs. I mean, you kind of can build some builds, but you know what I mean? It's not this, the AK, the M4, the HK. It's harder to get that laser beam weapon. And I think the combination of all that has really shifted the PvP dynamic to the point where we have weapons like the SR-25 being largely considered one of the greatest weapons in the game right now, which is a semi-automatic. So I think it's good. I think I'm pleasantly surprised where we are right now.
I completely agree, where like it was all, you hit the nail on the head, where it's like more than just one change. It was all the changes together. It was like the recoil mechanic by itself wasn't like this giant, it should have wiped just for that. But people underestimate how much that changed, how much it shifted the meta in guns. And then that plus the inertia, it was less about, and I was trying to let people know that, because that's kind of what I had been feeling. Everybody was like, the pitchforks were out. They were like, the Willers, like they're all going to be dead and it's going to be the year of the rat. And I was like, it's going to be less about making those play styles less viable and more about bringing up and making more viable other play styles. And it's absolutely what happened. You can absolutely still be aggressive. You can absolutely shift W, jump into the middle of a room. And if you've got good enough reflexes, you can snap to the enemy. But more than ever, if you hear somebody coming and you hold an angle, or if you're sneaky, or if you're whatever, more than ever, you feel like you can actually get the drop on somebody and actually clean up the kill. And so I completely agree. It's felt really, really good. At least moving in the right direction.
To me, the recoil stuff is it feels like to me like 70 or 80% of it. There are still plenty of cases where like, some folks haven't yet adapted to where they're still coming to corners and then like leaning to peek, but that's just like you end up leaning or stepping a little bit, and then you're like, oh shit, you can't go back. You can't just do a jiggle peek anymore. Yeah. But what you can do is just hold D and mouse 1. And quick swing out. Yeah. Inertia doesn't, affect that so much. So that's still, one of the hard things to deal with. Although some of that has to do with animations and the movement. Yeah. Being staggery as hell a lot of the time. But yeah, the recoil is. I totally agree with you. Back in the day, I used to love running the RSAS when it wasn't like the rarest, most expensive gun in the game. Yeah. And it felt really viable, and I used to use the Vepr 136 and the SKS, but then there was a period of time where they were just obsolete because of aim punch and how lasery all of the full auto guns were. All you needed to do was connect with one bullet, and then you could even if there was a lot of recoil, you could kind of just wrangle it in. But but now I've been having better success with the 136 and the SR25 again. Mm-hmm. As compared to like I used an HK that was like a modestly modded HK, and actually I used like one of the meta VSSs, and it's just like it's unusable.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's the VSS has been like historically one of my favorite guns in Tarkov from the very beginning of the game, and for very good reasons. It was incredibly overpowered for a very long time, but it does pain me a little bit to see where it is right now. But I found a way, like if you use an AS Val and you build it best in slot for vertical recoil reduction, and you use SP5 and you kind of use semi-auto, it sort of works, but it's like not it's not like what it was. And I know there was like very good reasons on why that gun got nerfed, but I still kind of miss rolling around with it, for sure, on a more regular basis, and I just don't feel confident with it anymore. And I feel like if I use that weapon, there's always another gun that I could use that would be more efficient. Yeah. And I'm just not using it because I'm just like playing around and kind of having fun, which is cool. But like if you die a lot, you're like, shit, I would have killed that guy if I used like something else. And then, you go back to things that work.
It's everything is moving in the right direction, but there are for sure pockets that still don't necessarily feel great. Things that it's like, this maybe got a little over nerfed, or this maybe still needs a little more. It's for the most part moving in the right direction. I mean, I've had this boomerang, basically a fraud cannon, but it's a meta M4 with the Saker suppressor, the QD handguard, the PRS stock. I mean, this thing is like meted out, and I can't live with it. Every time I go to shoot an enemy, I die. It's just, I was in love with the M4. The M4 for like 5 or 6 wipes. Even when the HK was meta, I liked the M4 better because the HK, there was one meta build. But the M4, you could get like 4 or 5 aesthetically different looking builds to within 3 or 4 vertical recoil. And I just loved that. So I got very, very used to the M4. And this wipe, man, I die with it and nobody takes it. I end up getting it back in insurance and then dying with it again and back insurance because it's just like, I can't, it's so different. But I like it though, because it feels like for the first time, really, the distance of your enemy is actually a really important thing to consider. 3 wipes ago with you could just meta out, 2 wipes ago even, you could just meta out an M4 and put a voodoo on it. Close range, laser beam. Medium range, laser beam. Long range, snap the voodoo and single tap it. And it was just like, you can't compete with it. It was like, why use any other gun? And so now it actually feels like the distance of your enemy matters. If that dude's 20 meters away and you have a hollow, you're not going to reliably, you're going to be bouncing if you're full autoing. Close the distance, throw a nade, single tap.
Think about how long SMGs were completely and utterly useless in the game. like completely and utterly. I mean, for years they were just not really viable because they had just as much recoil as as
full rifles.
yeah. It wasn't really until I think like the MP7
Yeah.
got added to the game that started to be like, this is actually a viable SMG. Then they started adding more with better ammo, and then now with the recoil changes, honestly, I find every time if I'm like holding an angle in factory stairs or something, and I'm aiming down sights and someone's gonna like jiggle peek, I actually have way less of a chance of winning if I'm aiming down sights than like I find the SMGs put a laser on it and just point fire it. And it's like, it's almost like there's three different kind of ways to fight, like close-ish quarters with a full assault rifle. Aiming down sights seems to work really well.
Yeah.
Point firing with SMGs seems to work really well. And then like longer distances feels really good with like DMRs and stuff like that. So it's interesting. I think there's probably more tweaks they need to make to bring them a little bit closer, but it's
and then on top of that, with the addition of how accessible better ammo and better armor is, that's another ingredient in that soup of what makes combat feel so different, is that like, you know what I mean? Compared to previous wipes, I'm not running into as many Altons, as many slicks, you know what I mean? Like as much good ammo. I don't have nearly as good access to it. You know what I mean? SMGs feel so balanced in their laser beaminess, because like when I'm running an SMG, when I'm running an MP7, I'm running the third best ammo, right? I'm running subsonic for that recoil reduction. And I feel powerful with it because I can laser beam you, but it doesn't have that great of stats. I have to hit a lot of my shots in order to do that. So all of that has felt like it's moved. I don't know. It just feels better. Of course, some things need to be changed, but
on the other side of it, it doesn't feel that great when you're getting laser beamed. Even when you have a DMR and the
aim punch is crazy.
Oh my god, dude! I've been dealing with what feels like I don't think they changed the aim punch, but maybe it's just been more recently, especially when I was trying to find Killa for the last few quests. Every time, by the time it took me to aim down sights and put my crosshairs right on his helmet with 308, I was just getting lit up, and you can't between the vision.
I feel
blur,
like they may have. I think they may have made it a little bit more intense this way, maybe slightly. I feel like subtly. That's a bro sciencey thing, but I know what you mean. It also could be because we're taking more shots.
Yeah.
People aren't using the best ammo. Maybe it might be more noticeable because in the past you would just croak and die.
That's so true. That the past few wipes, that's been one of the biggest criticisms.
We had a discussion about this today. It's like the MMAC, the introduction of those two class 4s. It's very much like the average level of armor right now too. So you don't always need to be running the best in slot. And then a lot of the good class 5s, there are unlocks via quests. So like the AACPC and the Gazelle. So you're not going to be seeing those running around nearly as often too. So it's kind of almost like a weird bridge. It's like you got class 6 body armor sometimes and a lot of class 4, but class 5 like Tactex, they're not as common, which is really interesting. So
and today sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I was gonna say today I ran into my first customs raid. I have a daily to kill Reshala from over 85 meters. Actually, it's a weekly. 5 times.
No.
5 times.
No.
But it's 270,000 XP.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. So I've been running customs. He hasn't spawned once, but there was I think I counted 11 scavs at new gas.
Really?
Within 30 seconds. Dude, it felt like I was tagged and cursed or offline with horde mode, and then one of them I killed in the first 2 minutes had a Gazelle, a Shroud mask, the antique axe, and like something else. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
That's crazy.
Dude, it felt like Scav War.
That's actually interesting because I was playing with Geeks and Jeepo, and we did an interchange raid, and by the end of the raid, between the three of us, we'd killed like 30 scavs. It was crazy. Maybe they're just doing some weird stuff, turning the knobs every once in a while to stress test the servers or something, because the scavs have been out of control. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I've got more slicks in my stash right now than class 5 armors. because defenders defender, the only way you can get a defender is from Sanitar guards, maybe a lucky stash. The tactics are maybe rogues, and what you can buy from vendors, like you said, is Gen 4s, but nobody buys Gen 4s.
I forgot about the Corand, but
true, yeah.
That has a lot of debuffs, and I feel like people don't get super saucy over it. It's like the least class 5,
it's like class 4S plus. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like almost like a midway through, and it's kind of weird how it feels like that, but
how good to honestly, like, I never feel good wearing class 5 and class 6 armor anymore, because I will die to kill with BS or to a grenade or whatever, like, where the armor doesn't matter. Lately, I just my thick item case is just full of slicks that I'm only gonna wear when I'm like on tilt. Yeah, but I'm just gonna insta die. So it's kind of interesting in that, like, there are some aspects where it feels like maybe it's a little bit closer to, I don't remember when it was, 8 months ago, a year ago, or whatever, where it was like you spent all this time grinding and getting your levels up and unlocking the traders just to unlock stuff that you can't use because the quests tell you to use other shit like P.A.K.As and Untars. And then once you get past all that, you're excited to use the top tier shit, and then you just die to like shotguns to the legs and grenades, and it's like, oh, like, it's finding the balance between.
Speaking of like change the balances though, I've been seeing a lot less KS-23s. I don't know about you guys. I've seen a lot less.
Oh yeah,
I think it's because of the Flechette hype. But
Flechette is hype for sure,
dude. It's crazy. And
man. Have you used one this wipe at all?
KS-23?
Yeah.
No. I've never been a big KS-23 guy. I love shotguns, but once I get shot in the thighs like too many times.
Oh yeah.
I was like, nah, this ain't for me, man. I'm just gonna kill him and just sell
There's
him.
like this weird bug with it where like, so you can't buy it on the flea market. You can't buy it from proper. It's barter only. Which weirdly, the barter is not that expensive, but like it's almost like a psychology thing where it's like, because that requires more clicks, less people buy them. Like even though the barter is around the same price.
Welcome to my life.
Couldn't get it on the flea market. That's probably the reason
one of the things.
I'm not seeing them.
Dude, you can take a KS-23 with like Shrap 10, go into your hideout and shoot the closest target to you in the face, and all of the pellets will hit them in the stomach. There's like a weird thing going on right now. It's crazy. So yeah, they basically just destroyed that gun. It's like unusable, which I'm not complaining about at all. But the Flechette is hype.
They just broke it.
Yeah, basically. The Flechette is mad hype right now. With those class 4 armors, Flechette tears, bro.
Oh man, it's like it's the easiest way to play the game for all you guys out there. If you're wondering like, fuck, I just can't kill anybody, man, just use a shotgun with Flechettes. That is all you have to do. I don't care the distance. It doesn't matter. Just use it, because if it's far away, you're going to give them heavy bleeds. And if they're close, you're going to destroy them. It's crazy how easy it is. I almost feel bad using it, and it almost feels broken. But I'm also kind of happy to see lots of shotguns getting used, because it's so different than like a year and a half, 2 years ago, when they weren't really used that much at all.
They were worse than SMGs.
Yep. Yeah. For a long time, they were they were terrible. It was all.
There was like a moment of the game at the beginning where they're so powerful, you could snipe with buckshot players from across the map, like an MP-133. I got an early video of me killing a dude of forearm with an MP-133. Like center mass, right? So we go from that, and then you go for a very long period of time where it's just like, why even bother?
Yep.
Unless you're a scav, and then it would just one click you. But I'm happy with where they're at. So it's just, man, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you did mention that they feel broken. There is some cases where it actually is broken, but in the opposite direction.
With the reload bug. Or yeah.
So, okay, wait a minute. You're the first person that has actually properly said what it is. Because I know Iraq made a video. At least I think he was the first one to sort of, scream from the hills that everything was broken. But the conclusion that he came to, based on the
testing that he did.
Well, no,
it was based on he did.
It was based on the testing he did, and then based on what was essentially an explanation from an admitted ex-cheat developer. That the conclusion was, it's most likely like BSG's attempts to fix the fact that cheaters had a cheat that could allegedly just like up the pen to 100% on everything.
Yeah.
That was the conclusion, for that video. But then I did a bunch of testing and came to the conclusion that it was one of you could call it a reload bug is a good way of putting it. I'm not sure if the gun was bugged, like the chambers, if the ammo or the inventory slots were bugged. No matter what, I was able to, like, if you took a stack of ammo and like split it and then moved it through different slots, the slots would bug out. And then if you took the ammo and you went to drag it onto the gun, which would normally reload like the shotgun or anything you could top load, that should normally reload, but in that case it wouldn't. But then if you hit R to reload, your character would reload, but anybody else looking at you, you'd just be standing there.
Mm-hmm.
So from the server's perspective, you did not have a bullet in your chamber, and when you shot and saw blood, you never shot the gun.
Yeah, it was client side. Yeah, we had that problem before with I think it was like reloads and tactics with magazines from M4s, and then you'd be spraying at a guy, and then you do a reload, and then the magazine would go into the gun, but it would bug out the rig, so you couldn't move the magazine around the rig, and then you'd be shooting ghost bullets. So on the client, you'd be shooting server side. This was years ago, so it's not like that now. But yeah. I feel like it's a similar thing where it's just like a weird reloading bug. But I've just like powered through it. Like I don't do that much stack splitting in game.
Yeah.
So I feel like I just drain the stack and then throw the 20 up into a pocket.
Yeah.
That's a way to cause it, but it's not the only way. If you just go into a raid, it seems as if it's a coin flip. If you go into a raid, maybe the first bullet you shoot might be bugged. It's tough to say, but
I mean, I've used a lot of shotguns, and I feel like I just empty the mag. So it's
just keep clicking.
But, yeah, I've been playing around with the double barrel a little bit, and there's been moments where it's been working and moments where it's not. But I feel like I always blame myself on that. But I would say like it's good to be an obscure issue. Like
yeah,
it's definitely not something that's going to happen all the time. And same thing with the tech bug. It would happen often, but like not often enough where I said fuck it, I'm not going to run the kit.
Yeah,
and of course everybody that sees that video or is going to see. I'm going to be including a description of it in an upcoming video. But 80% of the people that didn't experience the bug, but they just missed their shots or got eaten up by
they see the video
or whatever, they're going to be like, that's what happened to me,
I'm going to blame that. I'm just going to tell him, be like, hey, we must got the bug, boys.
Ghost bullets, boys. Ghost bullets.
Ghost bullets. Yeah.
I'm interested, like we've talked about this a little bit, like when we got some games, but how have you been digging? What were your thoughts going into the wipe, and how have you been digging VoIP? Because earlier you mentioned how like on your YouTube stuff and with a lot of your content, you've been not focusing too much on guides, but more of like content and like the Tarkov test kitchen and all that stuff, the zero to hero stuff you do, the reinvesting of the money. That's all like content. And I feel like what VoIP was like on a silver platter, BSG handed us another like, here, go make some content.
Man, I was so concerned going in. I was so worried going into VoIP, and I was so wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong on my concerns over VoIP. It's probably one of the things I've been the most wrong about. I have had such a good time.
Yes.
And you know what? Maybe I play on Canadian servers. I don't know.
No, dude.
This morning, I run in first raid of the day. I'm going to the exfil and interchange. I run into these two guys, and I play up my Canadian accent. I'm just like, oh, how's she going there, boys? And they're like, oh, how's she? And then I'm like, I'm selling fish. And I had like a bunch of herring. And then he's like, oh, no way. And I just started dropping fish for him and like had a conversation. But I have seen people that were like, yeah, on my servers, people like it's in Europe and like not everyone speaks English, so it's kind of weird. But I mean, from the North American perspective, it has been such a change of pace, and you're gonna get like a people that are gonna be toxic.
For sure.
But you're gonna get that. It's gaming in like that's just the way it's always been, like going back from the beginning. So I'm not gonna have like a small amount of bad situations on one hand like ruin the bunch.
Yep,
it's been really awesome, man, and yeah, I gotta say, at least for the people that play on my servers, like I'm surprised. I'm surprised of how awesome people are. Really, I thought people are going to be more toxic, honestly.
It's so much fun, man. And yeah, it really, I think there was like that moment where we installed 12.12 and everybody was thinking that. I was like, all right, how is this going to go? You know what I mean?
I was worried.
And and what's crazy is, just based on listening to Nikita these past few years, he was thinking the same thing. Like he's flip-flopped so many times. He was like, I want VoIP. And then he was like, I don't want VoIP. And then he was like, we'll add VoIP, but we'll add all these things. You can report and you can do. He was so scared. And I think he said on one of the podcasts that it was one of the things he was glad to be so wrong about too.
Yeah, the Tarkov community is a bunch of meme lords, and yeah, we go hard in the memes,
dude,
and that's just translated to the game in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
So,
dude, remember when he was talking about wanting to have it be like, oh well, we'll give you like you need a physical radio and you're gonna have to go up to people and like essentially do the handshake. I'm like, dude, it's no one's gonna use it, and it's gonna suck and it'll defeat the purpose.
Hey, in his defense, I at the time I was probably like, yeah, it's a good idea. Because like again, I was like very concerned about VoIP. I was worried about how I could not have been more wrong. Yeah, and I don't know, man. It's just Tarkov hasn't changed at all. It's just added an extra dynamic layer.
Yeah.
Like you're still getting the fights, you're still getting the action, you're still getting the rats and the chads. Same style of play, just extra shit. Just extra goodness. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah, the occasional fun moment, funny moment, or I mean, even like I've literally had one guy who had a racist gamer tag and he said a couple of racist things while he was camping factory exit, but other than that, literally 3 months, and like the worst experience I've had was been like, hey dude, what's up? And they'd be like, I'm doing a quest, so I'm gonna kill you, and fuck you. But at that point it's like, fuck you, it's two people gaming, having fun, role playing a little bit, but that's the worst of it.
Dude, 100%. And I think that's a great way to put it. It's just extra flavor on top. You can still do everything you want to do, and it gives people a thing to do, like that get through the content quickly. Like if you're you know what I mean, if you're 2 or 3 months into the wipe and you're still level 23, you're working on Punisher, you're just trying to get done with your quests, you're probably going to kill on sight. But if you're right now level 49, 50 and you've got all your stuff and you're just kind of grinding XP, you're like, I don't care if I lose this kit. You know what I mean? Like sometimes guys are like, hey, I'm just doing a quest, and I make that conscious decision. I go, okay, this guy might betray me, but like, who cares? Like if I'm having a good day, I'll just be like, let's roll the dice, and I'll just be like, yeah, dude, what quest? And sometimes he turns around with a double barrel and shoots me in the face, and sometimes we have a great raid. You know what I mean? It's like, who knows?
I think it was literally the day we were about to do raids together, like that morning. I got greased in such a dirty way. I was on Lighthouse and I met a PMC, and then we met a player scav, and we all agreed to work together, and we're going to the tunnel. We were in the tunnel, like 3 seconds left. Scav just whips around, blap, blap, gets us both. Dude, just an epic payday for that guy. Just we were geared, both of us, like 2 random PMCs. But I laughed my ass off. So, I mean, it was worth it, I guess. But it's the risk you have to take. It's kind of got like, it's like a little spice of DayZ almost. Like you never really know what you're going to get.
100%.
A lot of fun.
And we talk a lot about on here just like how excited we are for any of the future features that function similarly, whether it's open world or anything else they've talked about. Anything that functions similarly where it's like, here, it's still Tarkov, do whatever you want, but here's this extra layer of spice. Here's this extra like, go create your own content. Because I think a lot of people, especially you coming from DayZ, can agree that like part of why that game like lasted so long and is still so popular is because at the end of the day, it's a playground for the player to create a story, to create their own content, and it's just so much fun. And so any little bits of that we can get in Tarkov, I feel like give us the best of Tarkov and the best of those other games too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So on the topic of VoIP, I feel like this is an interesting time to toss this in there. But I was talking to Nikita a couple nights ago about some of the sound stuff, because I'm working on a video. The longest one I've ever done. My script is 40 fucking pages.
That's insane.
Damn.
Jesus.
It's literally about it. The whole thing is about sound. Everything about sound in Tarkov. That like going back to the beginning. All of the changes, the bugs and stuff like that. But it's going to talk and explain basically 99% of every issue that is commonly experienced, whether or not it's silent footsteps, whether or not, and in order to do that, I have to go like deep into some things and wide into some other things. So like I talk about networking, I have to talk about, the basics like occlusion and, and then I'm talking about HRTF and Steam audio and binaural, but then I'm talking about 7.1, 5.1 surround. But in doing a bunch of testing, I came to a conclusion that Nikita was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Now we'll see if the outcome is that he figures out that there's something here.
Yeah.
But VoIP and directionality, as well as staircase audio and stuff like that, I found. So in doing one of the tests, I was, it's standing at the top floor of 3-story dorms. And if you stand there and somebody walks down the stairs, what happens is it's completely unoccluded until you hit like halfway down the second flight, and then it's muffled, and then you hit the second, landing, and it's silent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was doing this with one of my mom's fluve, and he was going 1, 2, 3, 4, and he went down all the way down and all the way up, and it literally was like a linear drop off in volume, and then coming back up, and he's like, well, Nikita's like, that doesn't make any sense because VoIP uses the same occlusion logic and everything. I'm like, no, dude, it doesn't. It's better.
Yeah, VoIP is better. Yeah.
You can pinpoint it perfectly.
Yes.
So whatever you're doing there, just do that with footsteps. Do that, like.
I noticed that. I noticed that almost immediately, where if you're running around with some people in VoIP, it occludes better. It bounces off the surfaces better. If you're in 2-story dorms, if you're like looting marked room and there's a guy literally directly under you and he's yelling, you can hear him through the floor. But if you take like 4 steps away from marked room, it just immediately goes away. All the staircase audio with VoIP, it's like 10 times better.
Well, I think footstep audio is just worse this patch. That's actually one of the things. I think that's like one of the it doesn't seem like it was before. At least from my perspective, like last wipe, it seems worse, especially on stairwells and on secondary levels. Like I'll just have people run up on me straight up, and I don't like I've never even heard a single footstep, at least not from my perspective.
Yeah.
So here's the big question: do you have binaural sound on?
Yeah, I've turned it on and I've turned it off.
Okay.
But mainly I run it on.
So I only ask as one more sort of data point, because that's literally what you just said. I have like clips from a dozen streamers I've just been talking to a bunch of people, and they basically said like, people just run up on me and I don't hear them. And every time I've probed a little further and tried to get examples and whatever, because half of them say, that's just Tarkov audio. Half of them say, I don't hear footsteps because of binaural sound.
Yeah.
Which the more you get into learning how sound in Tarkov works and you realize that it's always been like that, you would know that the occlusion has nothing to do with binaural. It's their own bespoke custom, occlusion system they built from day one that they will planning on eventually replacing.
Man, like I can barely tell the difference between like Steam audio and regular audio. So
well, that's the problem, because you have to restart your game.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to figure it out. Like I'll turn it on sometimes if I feel like I'm trying to push blame. I need something. I'm like, the fucking audio. So I'll turn it off and I'll restart it and I'll turn it back on. I'm like, shit, it probably wasn't the audio. So I'll turn the Steam audio back on.
That's so funny.
No, I've done this. So, but yeah, I've been playing a lot of Factory. I've had like 3 or 4 days in a row of like hefty dailies on Factory.
Oh,
and which I like the Factory.
Yeah.
So I do well in there, so it's fine. But the audio is like very different. Very different with very aggressive players. Like, so I don't know if it's like them flying down the stairs and cutting the corner. And because they're flying down the stairs and cutting that corner so fast, by the time the audio even picks up that they're down the steps and on the ground floor and coming around the door, like just when they're firing, the audio starts picking up. But I don't know. I've definitely noticed that. I've also had situations where I've had teams like 1v3 hearing 2 players in front of me and then having a third perfectly back flank without hearing any noise and then shooting me close. And I know they're close because I can hear the suppressor and the bullets firing within like 10 meters away. So it's like, how did that individual like come around the entire building, like walking on bushes and grass? And like, I didn't hear him. And then me and the chat are like, what the fuck? So it's not just me. It's like my audience is like, what the heck? So, but to be fair, to be 100% fair, these are like one-off scenarios out of like hundreds of raids. So it's not like every raid is like this. It's like very weird, specific scenarios where people are playing with the vertical audio.
Yeah.
Have no fear. I explain everything.
Okay.
I will be explaining. So like the example that you gave me was actually identical to Axel came into my stream. We were talking about it, and he was like, I love binaural. I can tell the directionality. I can tell all these things. It's great. I can hear behind me, all this stuff. But there are some missing footsteps. So I'm like, okay, how am I going to debunk this one? I'm like, give me a clip. Show me. And the clip he showed me was right outside of dorms on opposite the car side, the side just close to the rest of dorms. He was standing like 5 feet to the left of the bottom of the metal staircase.
Okay.
And he was looking towards 2-story dorms. So the door was kind of in his outside of his peripheral vision. And what happened was he hears clink, clink, bang, and he's dead. And you can see a dude at the bottom of the stairs, like that had just ran down the stairs, blew his head off. And he literally heard 2 footsteps and he was dead. And so that was an example where it's like, whoa, like just like you said, came down the stairs, came around the corner.
No, I got a clip. I got a moment that happened literally yesterday, and like somebody could clip it or something like that. But not yesterday. It would have been Monday morning.
Does it involve stairs?
It does involve stairs.
It's always the answer.
Was at the top of Scab Bunker, and I knew a guy was in there, and I was just like cheesing him, kind of being a bit of a rat, and I'm waiting for this guy. I'm like, this guy, how long has he been down here? Like, is he looting? Is he moving? Like, I'm just about to go in. This dude flies up the stairs and just starts running. Like, I didn't even hear anything. He was already like down the freaking hill, and we're just like, what? And then like we killed him, but like, because I ratted him and shot him in the back because I was sitting in a bush. But it still was crazy. Like nothing.
Yeah.
No sound at all, man.
And when you as soon as you like learn how badly the audio works, it makes sense. So like in that case, I was able to reproduce it. What happens is the door opening and the first step. Well, the first step is like on the threshold of the door. Then the next step was like on the top stair. That audio is within the second floor indoors occlusion zone. So it's muffled. You don't hear it. Even though the guy is, you could throw a baseball and hit him. So you should be able to hear him. And then because of the movement speed, especially downstairs, like the footsteps don't always match with the animation doesn't always match with the sound. But basically it's literally enough to, if you just shift W, and I had Willers show this because he's got, max level strength. He was just able to open the door, shift W and go clink, clink, and he's at the bottom. So the first step in the door opening is muffled because he's, from the game's perspective, on the other side of a concrete barrier. And then there's 2 steps that you can literally see in the peripheral vision. He just goes zooming down the stairs. So it wasn't even netcode. It was just, that's what happens when the game has invisible boxes everywhere that overlap in strange places. Like the invisible box, they don't, I don't know if they changed the structure of the buildings or what, or if it was always like this, but they actually they don't correspond with the meshes of the environment, like the obstacles, the geometry. So they actually extend a little bit, like the stairwell in the middle of 3-story. It extends, it's wider than the stairwell. So if you're in a bathroom and you're up against the wall right next to the stairwell, you can hear the stairwell perfectly fine. If you take a step to the left, you don't.
Dude,
if you go prone on the floor, you can hear second floor audio perfectly fine from third. Or if you stand on a sink, you're in the upstairs occlusion zone, so you can hear it perfectly fine. And then people on second floor will run up to you and they'll be muffled.
They don't match with the floor because they want you to be able to hear the third floor audio as you're coming up the stairs. So they lower the third floor sound mesh down, which means if you're on second floor and you jump up on some trash bags, you can stick your head up above and hear upstairs. A really egregious place for that is the admin building of Resort. If it's raining, this is the best way to tell when it's raining. Just slow creep around that building. In the basement, on the top floor, like every
Indoors,
14th
outdoors.
step, you're just like louder rain, quieter rain, and you're like creeping around, louder rain, quieter rain, and it's just like what? Like it feels like the resort is just like Swiss cheese. The meshes, like it's so weird. It's so weird.
I have no development experience when it comes to like sound engineering or anything like that. So like I'm just thinking in my mind, you see the map, you're looking at how like the audio is profiled in these giant rectangles.
Yeah.
And like I would assume you can shrink it and expand it. But like maybe there's like limitations with like the building sizes are like chopping and cutting through the different levels that they've created, and because of the buildings being like so awkward, it's just not measuring up properly. But
but so those boxes only work sometimes. So think about if there's a box for the second floor in factory, there's that hole in the floor in the showers. You should be able to hear through that, but it's a solid box, so you can't. It's the same. It's the same thing with stairwells. If you stand at the top and you look down, you have a line of sight to the bottom step. You should be able to hear it, but because you're looking through two invisible boxes, it's entirely silent.
So how do they do it with the VoIP then? That's the thing. That's a good point.
That's what's confusing.
I think it bypasses the occlusion, and it's just using the distance, which is handled just automatically by Unity's audio, because Unity handles the transmission over distance and the volume changes, the attenuation.
So would the game be better if there was no occlusion in the walls and they only did the sound via distance? Then you'd have some really weird situations where like grenades inside of doors.
Yeah.
And then you'd have situations where if you have a one level building, things would be really weird. So you're almost like trading one system for another. Like,
which is why they need to delete it.
Yeah. And fundamentally
replace it with the remaining modules of Steam Audio, which they're planning on doing. But right now, the biggest thing is updating Unity and fixing performance. Because I've never programmed in Unity before. I downloaded Unity software development kit. I opened up a project and I took 3 hours reading the documentation. I have a staircase that I built. It's in like the default fucking Unity environment.
Yeah, grayscale.
I'm a capsule floating around. And I have one of fucking Tarkov theme songs emitting from a ball, just a fucking sphere. But I literally built Steam Audio into this project without having ever figured it out, tagged everything, and it's phenomenal. If you first of all, if you're standing with the staircase to your left and the speaker basically is to your right, you can hear the sound from the bottom reverberating up the column of the stairs, like how it realistically would. Yeah. And as you go up the stairs, you get the perfect mixture of the occlusion of the stairs kind of slightly getting in the way, but then also you're hearing the audio coming from below you, because that's where it's literally like only some of it's coming through the concrete of the walls. The rest of it is bouncing up the stairwell. Yeah. And it sounds perfect.
And that's with like the new Unity engine.
Yeah,
that's not with it's with the. I don't even think I'm on the latest version of Unity in this project. It's with the latest version of Steam Audio, which so Steam Audio has like 7 modules. The first one is binaural sound, which is all it does is it's just take the sound and apply a math problem to it that changes the frequencies a little bit so that your left ear and your right ear get different sounds. Yeah, which is what it's how it works in real life. So that's why it's perfect and intuitive, which I will show in the video, like side by side. Everybody can figure it out, like no problem. But so that's like 2% of Steam Audio. Then they have a module that handles occlusion, a module that handles reverberations and reflections, a module that handles transmission through different objects like glass versus concrete versus plaster and wood. They have a bunch of different modules, but all of those are turned off. They're not even in the game. They literally, like, in order to get HRTF in this project, I dropped in Steam Audio and I checked the box, and all of a sudden you have perfectly directional audio, front and back, above and below.
So yeah, I guess it's just for whatever reason there's like a shit ton of bugs.
And Nikita has said that like working towards getting those modules is part of why they need to upgrade to the newer versions of Unity, and I think that's what's confusing. It's like I can understand, we can understand what Steam Audio is supposed to do, and we can understand the basics of Unity, but like without seeing, and that's part of it is me and Veritas talk about the spaghetti code of like Tarkov being started in 2016 and the audio system and just like all the different band-aids and changes. Like, I don't know why they can't check on those other modules with the current version of Unity. Like, I don't know why they necessarily need
it's
to.
performance.
Okay.
It would tank.
Oh.
Like the way that they would integrate with their project, and I have my gut feeling as an engineer is telling me that it's like 80% on battle states side of the implementation, because everything I've read about Steam Audio and being implemented in other games is that it's actually impressively performant. Now, there's probably a bunch of people that are going to write in the comments like, I think it's terrible, or I'm a Unity dev for 20 years. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But my demo project with 7 fucking triangles gets 1100 FPS. So
and Deadly, I know you've played quite a bit of this game, but like the crown jewel game for Steam Audio, the game that was literally like built from the ground up to basically showcase how good it is Hunt Showdown. And that game's got phenomenal audio.
Yeah, Hunt Showdown's got, well, their audio is so good that it is the meta of the entire game.
Yep.
Like the entire game is understanding the audio profiles. And it's like the learning curve of Hunt is like learning all the ammo and like all the meds and the body armors of Tarkov is like learning all the audio cues in Hunt. It's crazy.
And imagine,
you just sold me on Hunt. You're speaking my language. I'm sweating here now.
And imagine if we had that level of audio. You know what I mean? It would change. It's not just like people don't understand. Like, it would change gameplay. You know what I mean? It wouldn't just change how cool and how, oh, I heard that guy running up behind me. Like, if you could actually sound horror in Tarkov and be like, oh my God, like I know exactly where that guy is. He's coming. Like, it would change the game.
Oh, I'm so bad at it because I'm just like running through, like hitting all the ducks and like stepping on the glass and like the dogs. And I'm like,
dude, 100%. I'm terrible at Hunt too.
Wait, we've played this together.
We played
with Pep, and Pep was so disappointed
at both of us.
Every noise. Veritas, you haven't played Hunt at all?
I played it for like a couple of hours, and I don't know. It
doesn't grab you.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. That's the biggest reason why I don't keep playing it. But if you're on this whole sound,
I'm doing a sponsored stream in like a week or two, so I'm giving it another try. I'm excited.
You'll be like walking. You'll be crouching through a building, and you'll step on like a floorboard.
Yep.
And it'll be like a creak. And then you'll hear like crows off the distance. And if you like look in the direction of where the crows are, they're gonna fly up in a certain way, and that's gonna tell you like how players are gonna be maneuvering that area.
Dude, 100%.
Or like if you like move around like dogs, like you have to do it in a certain way, or else they'll start barking at you. And it's crazy. It's a fun game, but for me, it doesn't have the progression level that I want that Tarkov has, but it does have it. So people do like it. It's just I'm also really bad at it. So
dude, I think I like fought a player, ended up like killing like a squad of 2 or 3, and then I ended up in a house with like this giant scary ass thing that I was just screaming in horror while this like creepy bulging dead thing was chasing me, and I was like, okay, I don't know, man.
The experience, pretty much. But the audio is absolute god tier, and so and
the distance audio for the gunshots. Like they have a whole thing in whenever you're creating a loadout where you can select the type of ammunition and then change the distance and scale it so you can actually practice and listen to different types of gunshots so you can learn what guns are being fired at different distances. It's actually very impressive. They built that into the game.
Hell yeah.
Just in the menu, you can be like, what does this gun sound like from 842 meters away? Boom. Okay.
Oh,
like, something like that is trivial to do with Steam Audio. Because like literally the attenuation and transmission is like a really fucking easy drop down menu and a slider.
They just like drop the slider right into the player's hands then.
Basically,
they probably just spin up a separate version of the module or something just for that like little menu. It wouldn't surprise me. Dude, all right, I'm gonna have to check that out.
One day, I'm holding out hope, man. Like Tarkov would just be so good if we had that level of detail when it comes to like our environment and being able to hear and being able to trust what we hear. It'd be really good.
Now we'll see.
Really good.
One of the other things I wanted to talk about, it's always the shit that I've been testing lately that I get like excited about, is skills. So I know like Clean recently made a video where he was talking about skills. I had a couple of disagreements. We've been chatting back and forth talking about different things. And I wanted to know what your opinion was on how does it feel from your perspective with your skills and versus fighting other people, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, skills. I used to be a big soft skill guy, and I got a lot of flack for in the beginning. And I still like the progressive attitude of skills. I like that your character gets stronger, more adaptive, in like given the things that they do. Like if you use certain weapons, like you're going to level up different skills. If you play more covert, then you're going to get covert movement. That all feels good to a certain degree, right? It all feels good until you have the differences between somebody who's got like 51. The big, like, when it comes to skills, there's 4 skills that we really got to talk about: endurance, strength, perception, and like the recoil control skills. Those are the ones that are like usually the most controversial, and for good reasons, because those are the ones that change the dynamic of PvP the most. The rest of them, like metabolism, well, you can make an argument that it makes a change in PvP, but you know what? You're going to pop somebody's stomach, and it doesn't really. It's not as big of a deal as those, because like the moment that you have players that are moving in the game at different run speeds, that has a huge. It's a big deal. So I'm very stuck in the middle, because on one hand, from like an immersive environmental perspective, your guy's in the shit. The more he's in the shit, the more he's going to adapt, the stronger he gets. But it is kind of annoying that the speed difference between a level 1 player and somebody with 51 is so different. So especially when it comes to listening sounds too.
When you say speed, is that based on like the speed that you're seeing people move at?
Yeah.
Or is that okay?
Yeah, because like you can't really control the skills that the other people have. You can only observe it.
Yeah.
So it's really just like, if everyone, like, the game would be interesting to see how, like, well, the beginning of the wipe is very interesting, because things like how much gear you're carrying has a huge impact on how players move through the map. Like very much slow down, especially with inertia. And once they get 51 strength, you can have a shitload of stuff in your backpack and still be playing way faster than somebody who's just wearing a pack at level 1. Is that good for the game? I don't know. Is it like, I think there needs to be some sort of middle ground where maybe the speed of which players are moving needs to be the same. Where strength and endurance can have their perks, their pros and cons, but and then also like how much strength plays into a role with the overall weight and the stamina drain of your character at max level. Like, I think it's too much right now. I think there's something they can do to keep skills in the game, but I understand the perspective of people that are not a fan of them. But I also get the perspective of people who like them. So it's a difficult topic.
I feel like there's a distinction to be made between when people say strength. How much do you mean level 51 strength, like elite perks, versus someone with level 30 and versus someone with level 40 versus someone with level 50 versus 51?
There's 2 different things though, because like the elite perk only counts the amount of weight, I believe, that's in your backpack.
Something like that.
I think it's the stuff you're carrying rather than what you're wearing.
So that has a huge impact. So that is almost like a separate category, because the new weight system is essentially obsolete and you're playing old Tarkov. And then you have another thing, which is it scales the run speed as you're getting up close to level 51. Like I have like level 40 something strength, right? I'm still going to be having a significant impact in comparison to a new player, especially in my run and walk speed. Walk speed's huge. Walk speed, I think people don't talk about enough, because your ability to walk and hold a lean and move around a corner is kind of like the peaker's aggression of our day now. And I think that is also something that like, if you don't realize how fast you walk with 51 strength, it's crazy. Like, you are gun up at the ready, moving real quick through those corners. So it is like a completely different game, basically.
So I'm going to add some more things to test. Like, I haven't tested the walk speed.
I hadn't considered that either.
But
yeah,
I have done recently tests between different, like between level 1 and elite level strength, endurance, and what I just recently finished was perception, because that's been the thing where, I mean, even people in chat, multiple people were like, elite perception is fucking broken. So I'm like, and when I hear that, I'm the natural skepticism hits me, because if something was fucking broken, usually it's pretty easy for me to notice when I'm playing, given how much I play. It's possible that I just don't notice and I'm missing it. But I can't avoid the, well, wait a minute, that's weird. I literally never thought about this skill ever playing. So, either the significance is lost or I haven't paid attention to it. So I've been doing literally either testing myself or getting people who have the skills that I haven't gotten yet to test. And there's some interesting results. The one thing I want to get out of the way real quick is, so the difference between level 1 strength and elite strength, ignoring the elite perk, just like the speed difference, is slightly more, I think 1.2 meters per second. So that's something where I can see it making a difference in some scenarios, but I have to admit that in so many scenarios, I feel like that significance is maybe overstated, because usually I'm not, if someone jumps out a window and they go to flank around dorms or something, the way I'm reacting is like, at least to me, 95% just their sound. It's not like I'm have a stopwatch in my head and I expect the timing so much.
Yeah.
And the inconsistency in the netcode around movement, to me, I think is more significant than any change in movement speed. Like, when people are, if you just play with anybody and you watch them go, Jesse knows, it's like every other thing is a stutter and a stop and a stutter and a stop. So those are things that, to me, it's like, until they fix that, I'm not even going to touch like walking speed with it.
Well, I think that level of netcode issue is expedited from the increased movement speed.
Yeah, for sure.
And then also tied with endurance. It's also like, it's not just strength, but it's also endurance, because that ability to maintain that momentum for longer periods of time too really makes a difference. I see what you say. Like, I understand, like, the difference is not nearly as bad as it was before, for sure, but it's still there.
And I'm kind of like in the middle, in the sense that, like, when we've been talking about skills recently, like, what I'm trying to force myself to think is, like, in what context do the skills feel, broken or underpowered or overpowered or whatever. And a lot of the times, like, going back to the audio conversation, like, let's assume Tarkov has Hunt Showdown level of audio. If you could, like Veritas was saying, if somebody breaks a window and jumps out, if you could trust the sound, and if it was really, like, occluding and propagating so well, then that minimizes the it doesn't negate, but it changes how much weight that extra movement speed has, because I can track you, you know what I mean, either through bushes or through walls. And then the other thing that I always talk about is this is my kick I'm on right now, is that, like, Tarkov is so predictable. Like, when you spawn shoreline, right, you're like, I'm here, I am the first, second, or third closest spawn to resort. I know that if I'm the second best, the first best guy is going to be entering through this doorway at approximately this time. And when you add elite strength and endurance to that level of predictability, it makes a huge difference. Like you're saying, Deadly, you can be like, oh, I think this guy's going to be here, I'm dead. How did he get there so fast? You know what I mean? But let's assume we're in a world, let's just, put our imagination hats on. Open world Tarkov, removing that level of predictability then removes a certain amount of, like, oh, he got there because it was strength and endurance. And it was just like, I have no idea if he got there because he ran faster than me, because he's been waiting there all day.
You're just responding to stimulus. It's no longer predicting timings.
And so So because I'm so stuck in the middle, like some of these conversations me and Veritas have been having, I'm like, yeah, maybe the skills aren't that bad. But then sometimes when I'm like, I have my game open and I'm looking at like I hadn't considered that Deadly. Like when the strength, I'm level 50 strength. I'm 20 points away from elite. And it says increases movement and sprint speed by 20%. I had never considered the walking speed at 20%. If you've got a juice cannon at the ready and you're walking 20% faster, closing distance on me or swinging a corner, or if I think you're far enough away I can pop a heal or something like that and you start to pre-fire me, I think that's something. And so what I'm struggling with is like, sometimes I'm like, man, the skills are crazy powerful. And then sometimes I'm like, but what if Tarkov had perfect sound, better netcode, and we were in open world? Would I consider the skills that we have as we have them right now overpowered? I don't know. You know what I mean? And that's where I have such a hard time putting my foot down if I think they're overpowered or not, because I try to look at the game as Nikita wants to make it, not necessarily as we have it now.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Weight is also a dictator of movement speed.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes.
So
until you hit 51, then most of it goes away.
Right. So along your journey, like while you're leveling up your skill, like let's say you're like 30 or 40, like the amount of loot you're able to carry while maintaining that high level of speed.
Yes.
Also increased.
That's
so
true.
I think the biggest difference, if you want to look at the impact of skills in Tarkov, is look at PvP players now and then go watch their VODs on the first day. That's where you're going to see the difference. And when it comes to perception, it's hard to notice the perception because it's like making a change in your lifestyle. It's like one of those things where I think my little dog is trying to break into my office right now. It's like one of those things where it's because it's such a slow trickle. You know, you're not going to actually notice the benefits because it's such a long period of time. It's like months of you playing Tarkov, and you might get a small percentage better every single day. So
that's why I do the testing side by side.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way. So I have a few bullet points.
Sure.
Because I did the side by side, and
for perception, right?
For perception,
okay.
yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the information, because so far all we've ever known is that it's 35% hearing distance increase. But what does that mean? You know, it sounds broken, it sounds busted, but what does that translate to? So now I want to actually give you like real answers to real scenarios. And then if you want to decide based on that, if it's OP, it needs to be nerfed, by all means. That's like a subjective opinion. I can't say you're wrong.
Yeah.
But I think this stuff is really fascinating. So the first thing I want to respond to was one of the specific things that made me question this whole thing was that you can hear significantly further at elite perception with an Alton than a level 1 without a helmet. So I was like,
that's a little sus. That's a little sus.
And so then one of the things that Clean had said, and I'm not sure if he's quoting a video or whatever. But one of the things he said was that if you have an Alton on with elite perception and you're in East Wing, you can hear footsteps in West Wing. And that to me was like I feel like I can't hear shit with the Alton. So that was like skeptical radar, but I wanted to test it.
Yeah.
It's the second one is partially true. If you're on the one end of the sky bridge and they're on the other end of the sky bridge, right? Like that's a huge difference than if you're halfway into East Wing and they're halfway into West Wing. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
You won't hear it. It's not remotely close enough. But so let me do a couple comparisons, because what I have is the test that I did was with Desmond, because he has a level 1 account and an elite perception account. He would stand there with a
rangefinder
on my back, and I would run, and he was recording while I would run, and then you'd see the range. Unfortunately, it only updates every half a second, so it's like not as granular as I would have liked it. But that's something to keep in mind too, that it because it only updates every half a second, that's a few meters of accuracy, give or take. But so keep that in mind. And we did that with no headphones, contacts on, and Alton on, with binaural audio on, binaural audio off, level 1, level 51, like all the things.
Damn, okay.
And so here's a couple of facts. Your hearing distance if you have elite perception with an Alton, is for all intents and purposes identical to without any headphones and without a helmet. They're both stop at about 49 meters.
You know, that's not bad though.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Now think about it. It's 50 meters is where essentially like a step at 47 you can hear, and then the next step is, 1 meter later, right?
Yeah.
Is 51.
What was the distance with an Alton with level 1?
38, 39-ish. So we're talking about 10 meters, which if I calculated the speeds based on the running distance and everything, and the average is about 6-ish meters per second. So it's less than a little bit more than 1 second
of additional
difference
audio
between level 51 and level 1. You're talking about 1 second. Now, some people might say 1 second's all I need to win a fight, and maybe. You laugh, but I think
that's me, dude. I just need a second. Hey, no, just keep. I'm interested in this. I want to hear more.
But that to me was super fascinating.
Yeah.
In that. So their elite perception with an Alton versus nothing else, or basically the same hearing distance, it ends up being about 50 meters. Level 1 perception with an Alton is about 38, 39-ish, whereas no headphones is about 48, 49-ish. So you can actually hear with no headphones exactly as far as you can at level 1 and as level 51. They're both about 48, 49 meters.
Really?
Wait.
So there's one data point.
It doesn't change the base.
Nope. There's no difference.
Wait. So roll it back. So you're saying without an Alton, just regular headphones, like Comtacs.
No headphones.
No headphones. Okay, so
just
no headphones,
ears.
no Alto, naked ears. A level 1 perception and a level 51 perception account hear the exact same distance away.
Footsteps.
Yeah.
Stop being audible
At the same distance. 51 to 1.
So that must mean that the modifier is only applied to the statistic that changes the audio profile, which means Comtacs would have to be different.
Maybe there's more information that may or may not contribute to that. So now one interesting thing unrelated to the skills, but I tested. So taking the volume and boosting it by 15 dB, which if you know anything about audio, that's a fucking lot.
Yeah.
Like if you take if I put it at the level where I would normally play Tarkov, if I boost it 15 dB and you go to listen, the audibility of the footsteps, it doesn't change. Like Tarkov, it stops playing the audio at the
doesn't
at that distance.
It doesn't roll it off. It's just like boom.
So that was just something I thought was interesting, because I thought that there would be a difference between like practical hearing distance versus actual. Thinking like, oh well, maybe it's too quiet for you to hear, but in reality, it's even when it's much quieter, you still hear it. And ultimately speaking, when it comes to sound, there's a huge amount of value by the binary of do you hear it or not, and then you only get additional information from, okay, is it soft, is it loud, how close is it, whatever. But as soon as you hear a footstep, well, now you're looking in that direction. So that to me is where most of the value is. So that was the first thing. So I already told you guys, if you're wearing an Alton, you can hear at most 10 meters further away. So again, that's less than 2 seconds between level 51 and level 1 perception. Wearing Comtacs, you can hear about 14 meters further, comparing level 51 and level 1. But doing the math on it, that's only slightly more than 20% further. So it's not the 35% that's on that's advertised in the skill. It was the difference between, I think it was 22%, which is the difference between 61 meters and 74 meters.
Yeah, now we're getting up there. But again,
that's still
getting greater.
That's still less than 2 seconds of sprinting time, which again, you might think it's significant, and maybe it is. It's so hard for me to tell how many scenarios it was like, if I only heard him 2 seconds further, then I would have won the fight. At 60, 70 meters, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's one of those things, like I'd have to go back and objectively look at all my fights and try to figure out.
Well, I feel like with this data, your goal with this isn't to make that decision for people.
Yeah.
It's to give them
Right,
the
you know what I
information
mean?
and decide
It's
for
you're
themselves.
just given the data.
It's to
and-
clarify
yeah.
35. You can hear your enemy 35% farther away than somebody else. Sounds scary, but just clarifying what that information is. Like Deadly, you were just saying, it's obviously not a flat 35. It's a 35% applied to some other modifier, and that's where Tarkov just goes
Or it's
down
broken.
or it's broken.
Or it's broken.
Yeah.
yeah. You have
And maybe
more,
if they
you got
fix
more
it-
data on this? Like, I'm so into this.
Oh, I do. I've got 4 more bullet points.
All right. Hit me with it.
So if you look at the numbers, Comtax boosts your hearing distance when you're as compared to an Alton. So going from Alton to Comtax, making that like decision whether or not you want to wear active headphones, it gives you a 50% increase in distance at elite perception. But at level 1 perception, it actually gives you, making that same distinction where I guess if you're level 1 and you have an Alton, I don't know, but if you had to, doing the comparison, it's actually a 60% increase, which makes sense given that they're basically the same kind of overall distance, but that's, you're talking about, going from a helmet to the headphones is more than twice the noticeable increase in distance than 51 skill levels, which 51, you didn't just go to Prampur and pay 22,000 rubles for 51 skill levels, right? You spent fucking 8 months playing the game every day to get that. So just keep that in mind. So let me see. In summary, an Alton, so an Alton, wearing an Alton or any of those helmets, they will hurt you more at level 1 perception than level 51 perception. There's more of a cost there, which may or may not be relevant given that you're generally not wearing them at level 1. May or may not be significant. I'm not sure. But in context, give you more of a benefit. So when you're at level 51 perception. So like those are the options you have to weigh. The difference between 38 and 48 meters hearing distance with an Alton, the difference between 48 and 49 meters without headphones, and the distance between 61 and 75 meters with Comtax, comparing level 1 and level 51. That's just the hard data.
I don't know how long it takes to level to 51 perception. I don't even know what my perception level is. I think that factors in like greatly in the whether or not it's OP department. I do think seconds matter in Tarkov. I would take 51 over not having 51 for sure.
Of course,
because like especially if you're a PvP guy and you're snapping at like fractions of a second, that can certainly help. The biggest thing though that in my opinion isn't the Comtax. It's like being level 51 and wearing an Alton and having the same sound as somebody who's level 1 with no helmet. Like that's interesting to me. Like that's like
it's actually not. There's one minor thing to consider.
Okay.
The ambient sound in this game is so fucking loud. So the footstep audio is still hearable at the same distance, but it's because the Alton cuts down how loud the hum of the electrical systems are or the wind. That to me is way more significant than the skills.
But is the footsteps still the same when you're wearing the Alton and like muffling the other external sounds?
Is the same
it's like the footsteps it's like you're wearing the Alton and like the environmental sounds are muffled, but the footsteps, what are those like?
I think they're just less muffled.
They're audible.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to say. Unfortunately, I can't like isolate it because you have crickets chirping or rain or whatever, right? So the thing is that if you look at the audio levels, it's going like this when there's nothing happening because there's just so much like of all of the all of the ambient sound. But so another thing I think worth mentioning that is quite relevant is this is the audible volume when you are sitting there fucking listening for footsteps. As soon as there were a couple clips I have where Desmond's character was like and you couldn't, every time he'd breathe, you couldn't hear footsteps. So it assumes that there's no gunshots, you're not reloading, you're not healing, you're not in a bush. that's assuming that you are perfectly listening exactly for footsteps,
Yeah.
not shooting the shit with your buddy on Discord. So again, practically speaking, how many scenarios is that going to matter? I can't know. I don't think anybody could know
exactly.
unless you looked over 100 raids and you did some kind of average. But again, that's just your experience.
Here's the way I see it. It's like, I think there are more things for beginner and intermediate players to work on strategically and how they play the game that's going to have a greater impact than worrying what your level of skill is of your enemy. Because at the end of the day, it most likely, by the time you even think that it could matter, it's not going to matter. It will probably benefit your experience moving through Tarkov. Like, your perception skill is going to give you a small percentage bonus of being able to hear your enemy before maybe you would have if you don't have the skill up. But like, at the end of the day, like, when you're in that environment, like, you're trying to survive as best as you can. Like, you're like, that's the whole argument that I use for like EOD versus standard. And you know what? Like, there are certainly situations where like having extra stims or extra meds in your gamma makes a difference. But at the end of the day, when you're in Tarkov, I am not worrying about the secured container, the boof box that my enemy has. I'm just trying to kill him or eliminate the threat. So, and I think the same can be said for the soft skills. Like,
Amen.
So, you know what I mean? It's tough. It's a tough debate.
I agree.
It is an individual journey with the skills. That does make your character stronger.
Yeah,
for sure.
But at the end of the day, I think you're right. It's like it feels like there's so much. It feels like there's so much stacked against you in Tarkov that people want a place to look, to blame. You know what I mean? To be like, like if I could grind to that, if I could do that, but at the end of the day, you can pick anything. You can pick ammo. Is ammo the most important thing in Tarkov? Give Landmark a stock AK with PS, and his survival rate goes down maybe 2%. Because he's just good. You know what I mean? He just knows how to flush out his enemy. He knows how to do that. Is armor the thing? Is the guns the thing? Is it meta guns? You see, Willers will late wipe when everybody else is level, 50. Willers will go 1 to 40 with a TAS or 1 to 40 with a VPO and have a 68% survival rate. And it's like, so I think what you're saying, Daily, is that like at the end of the day, if you're new or if you're struggling, there are so many other things to like latch onto that actually could make you better than just saying, maybe it's the skills, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. It's like there's a lot to work on. Even with the audio, when you were saying like that's assuming you're listening perfectly, Veritas, like, and you're like, what if you're healing? What if you're this? You know how many times, like, I've kind of made it my shtick, right? The replay buffer thing. Like, when I die, I almost always clip it, watch it back almost immediately. Because a lot of times I'll play with a duo and I'm like, all right, I have time, so we'll watch the clip back. I can't tell you how many countless times upon watching the clip back, I went, oh yeah, I heard his audio. I was tunnel visioned and I thought he was going to be here. And I was thinking in my head, this is going to be a sick play. And then I'm dead. And I go, what? I didn't hear any audio. And then I eat my words 13 seconds later. And people don't really do that. People don't give themselves that opportunity. And a lot of times, like a lot of that stuff, it was a cheater or it was a 2-man, it was this, it was that. A lot of the things we think, watch your clip back within 10 seconds of you dying. And so much of what you think happened so often, your brain just made that junk up. It's like, what? There must have been 3 of them. And I watched the clip back and I'm like, no, I just see him right there. He ran and I just missed it because I thought he was going to be over here. And so
you just explained the thesis of my video. Basically on audio, which is like, we are all fucking so wrong all the time. Yeah. Educate yourself on the things and, figure out what's relevant, what's important, and what to blame. But before I forget, what you guys both just said, it brought up what I think is actually the most relevant thing. And that's, if you're level 1, what are the chances that those 2 seconds are going to be the reason why you fail, especially if you're new or whatever. There's so many other, you're going to miss your shots. You're going to have shit ammo. You are going to not have any optics.
Not going to know what map you're on.
Yeah. Like. So that's like one of the most relevant things is like, if it's Will with level 1 perception, his skill is going to make those 1 or 2 seconds irrelevant. Whereas if you're new, your skills are irrelevant, largely irrelevant to your success. Right. And like what Deadly said, that's the truth.
Well,
there's so many other things to focus on.
Is you'd prefer to have them at 50.
Of course,
points.
Yeah.
Of course.
Like, yeah. So, and
But do you want to take it away from somebody else? Like, would anybody argue that they want to take it away because it's too powerful?
Yeah.
That's all well and good until you spend 1,000 hours and you're like, well, none of the skills fucking do anything for me. This sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
And going,
that's it.
And going back to what you said, Deadly, I totally agree. I love the subtle leans to the RPG genre that this game has. You know what I mean? There's a part of me that remembers cutting down trees for 70 hours in RuneScape to get that.
And I'm still playing RuneScape.
I know, dude. You're still fighting those crabs, dude. You're still fighting those crabs. And like
21-year anniversary. Let's go.
And there's a part of me that loves that. And when you really break the math down, 3 days ago, I would have told you I was 100% on the bandwagon. Perception is broken. It's busted. 35% is way too far. But now I'm thinking 1 to 1.5 seconds over 600 hours of me grinding out a wipe. Maybe that's fair. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the other data point we don't necessarily have. Numbers have been thrown out, but I don't know if these numbers came from Nikita. But like, how many people get to elite endurance? How many people get to elite strength?
5% had elite strength and endurance at the end of the last wipe, which was the longest wipe ever.
6.5 month wipe, 7 month wipe, 5%. So that's
and
a whole nother thing.
I have 1,000 raids, and I'm level 44 strength.
Wait, was the last wipe the longest wipe?
I don't think the last wipe was, but it was. They've all been up there recently.
I thought it was.
I think
I feel like more people are gonna have elite strength this wipe, but not elite endurance.
Yeah. Dude,
mine are both are level 44. They're almost exactly the same.
Dude,
holy fuck.
Bro, mine's like 40 something strength and like 30.
Yeah, you want to hear this?
I've been rolling fat.
I'm level 50. I'm 21.4 skill points away from level 51 strength. I have level 25 endurance.
Yeah, I'm 52 and I'm like mid 40s strength and like 30.
Yeah. Now
30
guys,
endurance or something.
see, that's why, because I never fucking loot anything.
Now the
I'm like the opposite of a goblin. It's so boring to me half the time, so I'm usually shift Wing around towards bullets that I'll never see.
Yeah. Now I have been strength training this past like week. I got super frustrated trying to keep endurance. Like, oh, I got to go in light because I don't want endurance to. And I was like, dude, screw this. I'm just gonna get strength to elite, and then you're always underweight. So LOL.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's like, yeah, it is so hard. I struggle. I flip flop, man. Some days I'm like, oh, the skills are so overpowered. But then I'm like, well, okay, you know what I mean? How many players play the game? How many players get elite? How many don't? What are the middle? We always compare elite to 1. But like Veritas was saying earlier, how many people do you come across with level 20 strength, with level 30 strength? Then those margins are smaller. And then it's like, how many fights is it going to matter? You know, we're talking about with perception, we're talking about 60, 70 meters away. You know, maybe me and Deadly Woods mains get into a lot of engagements around that. But like if Customs Labs Reserve and Shoreline Resort are the main PvP areas, it's 60 meters. Like how many? It's
and
so
if you're
hard.
Inside on that like on that level, like your maximum hearing distance is already greater than that entire floor.
Yeah, exactly. So hearing somebody out, and then when you add on top of that 5-year-old bugs with audio staircases, desync, performance,
my main
client-side bugs, like
I've never really thought about it. But I'm also not an active participant in the meta discussion as much anymore with the skills. So I am like not been aware of like the debates and the ongoing discussions. I've heard a few people discuss perception. My main thing with skills, and I think the most noticeable thing amongst all players is definitely just the general movement speed. Yeah. And the consistent and how the amount of loot that you grab can dictate how fast your character moves. And I think that is, I think that when people talk about our skills OP, I really do think they're honing on those specific issues. Perception, man, I'm fucking deaf basically. I can't hear shit anyway. You know, so like,
just want that little dot.
I'm like Jesse, man. I'm like, I didn't hear that guy. You know, and like sometimes, like what we talked about earlier with verticality, there's certainly situations where that's the case for me. But more often than not, I'm talking about some fucking bullshit, and like I should have heard him.
Story time,
so, You know what? The test I need to do, because this is the true test, is it's like the impossible test that I'll never be able to do. But imagine if you could never see the skills. Imagine if you were blinded to the skill level. And in a perfect world, if I could reproduce the same exact thing, the same exact inputs, and maybe I could try and I wouldn't want to fudge it, but like I did this with the audio. People said I can't localize with binaural audio, and then I would blind it. And so far, I've tested 5 people with this. 100% of the time, without binaural, they can't tell above versus below versus in front versus behind. 100%, they've all just guessed, and they even have a 25% chance of getting it right by accident, and there's not been one right guess. And 100% of the time, with binaural, they instantly, they don't need to listen to it 3 times and think about it. Instantly, oh, behind me. Oh, below me. Oh, directly above me. And it's when blinded. I mean, that's science, baby. Like you just demonstrated it that, you know. So if I could show someone jiggle peeking or sidestepping or whatever with elite strength versus level 1, or maybe they're level 30, and say, what do you think this person's strength level is? Yeah. Or even show them side by side and just 50% opacity. Really,
hey man, if they got a red hat and like a purple armband and a big couch backpack, I'm saying 51.
I'm saying 51, baby. They got a mutant with the
he's
voodoo.
Got a cold pack on his fucking head, and he's just like, I'm saying 1.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
To Deadly's point, that's earlier. Like that would be an interesting. Like I know your video you're making is on audio, and perception relates to that, so that's why you did testing for that skill. But somebody to do testing with strength, I think an important thing would be to test accounts with level 1 strength and endurance, and then accounts with level 51 strength and endurance, not just isolating, but seeing how those synergistically work together, and how much it counteracts but inertia, because inertia scales intensely. I ran some raids with like Rengar, who is a Chad. This guy's had Kappa for 2 weeks. He's level like 68 already, and I ran some raids, and I was walking out of reserve because he's so good. He could like APMCs multiple times, 80 kilos on me, okay? And as it scales up, like even at 50 kilos, 50, 60, when you start getting up past 50, inertia is nuts. You go to peek a corner and you're on ice skates, baby, just skating around that corner. Yeah. And, dude, it's crazy. And so that I think is definitely a non-zero thing. If I've got a Gen 4, an Alton, or a Zabralo and an Alton and a Mutant, you know what I mean? I'm going into that raid with 30 kilos. I pick up 20 kilos worth of loot. I'm fat. I'm a big boy. With elite strength and endurance, I'm 20 kilos with that kit and 20 kilos worth of stuff in my backpack. I'm underweight, and now inertia is not nearly as big of a deal. So
your weight limit to have that inertia defect is increased too.
Yeah, exactly. I can carry more before I even get to the yellow or get to the red, and I have nothing. So that would be interesting as it relates to how much inertia adjusts your character.
But do you think... I hate to like. I
always
feel
like
I'm being a contrarian. No. I'm not trying to be a contrarian for the sake of it, but like, imagine if you got a level 51 character with an empty bag, versus one with a full bag. I guess if you get into a fight, what is, from my perspective of the one that's dying to the Giga Chad, what do I fucking care what they have in their bag?
No. But what I'm saying is that we've been looking at it through the lens of how much faster does an elite strength or level person move. What if we flip it to, what if we're moving at the exact same speed, but you've got a Risty and a Zabralo and a Mutant, and I've got a Penis Helmet, a Class 4 Regan, and Adar, right? If I put your kit on, I could barely move, but you and me can move at the exact same speed. What like, you know what I mean? That's an all I'm saying. I'm not even saying that means we should or should remove strength. I'm saying that's an interesting perspective on it. We can move at the same speed, but I can't move at that speed with your kit on, and your kit definitely changes how quickly I can kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with what you're saying. I guess I'm just thinking, like, is the reason why you're not wearing that because that you move slow, or
100%.
The thing is, like, in that engagement, you aren't wearing that. I don't know.
For sure. 100%. I have had armors in my inventory that are like for when I get elite strength armors. Like when I find a Gen 4 full, I'm not touching that until I have elite strength because it's 14 kilos and I'm already
I wonder
halfway.
if it changes your movement, your turn speed, because that's why I
think
don't
it
use
does.
forts. The fucking turn
yeah.
speed.
Well, that's a different number, right? I
Yeah.
think that well, is it still like that? Does it do like a percentage? It does. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
With each individual body armors. I thought they got rid of that with inertia, but I think it's still listed. But that's it, man. It's the combination of the loot, the weight, and the speed.
Yeah,
Because you know, people are gonna be heavy, people are gonna be looting, and the more like if you're a really high level player, you can loot way more and still maintain that high level of play.
Yeah.
Where a new guy picks up a car battery and he's like huffing and puffing and hitting prone and like crawling and standing, and then a guy with 51
unless
strength
he pops a mule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
then
sure.
it's
I mean,
irrelevant.
Yeah.
but I mean, a mule stim is like 80,000 rubles, and there's negative debuffs, like you drain your HP. So
yeah.
And most new players won't have mule stims as well. So I think that's it right there. I think
because I do think that's significant. Say you get if you're relatively new to the game, you're level 15, right? You get the God Rashala spawn and you work hard and you wipe that, and Rashala Guard 3 has a Gen 4 and Rashala Guard 1 has an Alton. That's a situation where now you've got the kit on because you want it. You're ice skating around the map, you can't maneuver at all, and somebody walks up in a similar kit with level 51 strength and they can just straight out maneuver you. Like that is a situation where the game says, here is your reward for like playing the game well and working on it. You got this God tier loot, and now, you know what I mean? Like once again, I'm not saying this as an advocate, like we should get rid of strength. I'm saying these are the situations where I think they become relevant, where like, let's just say in this perfect scenario, then a 51 Chad comes up with a Gen 4 and an Alton. We've got the same thing on, and the movement speed in that fight could greatly affect the outcome. The skill as well, like you said, if you're a level 15.
What if they have a rat rig? They're still going to have way more of a movement advantage. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, but you could hit them. You could kill them.
If it's more significant that the debuffs are too punishing versus the benefits are. So in my opinion, the debuffs are what. It's the debuff is what affects the fight for you more. Like, because let me think about it this way. The debuff affects you more. If you have a backpack full of shit at level 51 strength, it's the same as if your backpack is empty. But when I'm the one fighting you, I don't care what you have in your backpack. I care what's in my backpack and what slows me down.
Yeah.
It's in my opinion, that's closer to the whole gamma versus alpha container argument, where it's like it doesn't affect combat. It's way more convenient when you have a kappa, right?
Yeah.
Compared to an but it's not gonna win you a fight.
I think Jesse's point was really good, though. That was a good counterpoint. It was like you don't have to care about the weight of the gear that you take in. It's a non-factor at that point. It is zeroed out. And then also, I think when you get to a higher level, not even to max, but even like a higher level, the loot that you grab doesn't necessarily matter anymore. Where in the first week, everyone cares about how many car batteries and motors they grab. And then people make a choice on leaving that stuff behind because it will affect their ability to kill their enemy. So I think when it comes down to like the skill thing, I think you have to have it as an individual skill discussion and not the whole skill. Because like you made a really good point where like I kind of agree. Like I don't really care about perception as much as other people. I think that's some really good data points to suggest that, like, for the overwhelming majority of people, it won't make much of a difference.
Yeah.
And like, random skills like vitality and stress resistance and different practical skills. Some can even argue covert movement. Is that even fucking working right now? I don't even know. I like to think it does, but I don't know. But when it comes to how the movement speed of the character is manipulated by the skills, I think that specifically is the target that people discuss and have been discussing for years, especially when it comes to loot. I think that's the big one.
Strength is the biggest candidate for some sort of discussion. I mean, at the basic level, the discussion.
It always has been too.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and that briefly there was the recoil control thing where people were reloading SKSs.
Oh my god! Yeah,
that was like a brief moment in time, but overwhelming majority of the time, it's on that specific discussion, and it's gotten worse because of inertia and the weight system. Not worse, but like the discussion is still
the discussion.
ongoing, but for different reasons. So.
I agree. And it's like we don't want to. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like there's 40 skills here. There's 15, 20 of them that are still grayed out. There's some skills that nobody ever gets elite that seems so cool, like covert movement, like you were saying.
And like even stress resistance.
Yeah.
That was cool. I've only had that 51 once, and you have this whole adrenaline system that's in the game.
Yeah.
And like, no
Don't get
one
me started
uses
on
it.
adrenaline.
Yeah, I know.
I bet you there's people listening right now that don't even know that like there's an adrenaline berserker mode where someone can literally break your limb and you can continue to move at full speed for a few seconds without a painkiller. That is in Tarkov.
That should be in the game.
Yeah, for
I
everybody.
agree.
For everybody.
I've been saying this for a while that should be stress resistance skill, and the higher level the skill, the longer the duration of.
We were talking.
Amen,
dude. We were talking about that a few weeks.
But instead, it's the opposite. You get shot with a one buckshot from 80 meters away, a single pellet, and now your fucking stamina is like, and you can't move.
Yeah.
And not only do
I got Nikita to fix it a little bit. He said he reduced it as much as he possibly could. I'm like, bullshit, because I can still get shot twice. But yeah.
Yeah,
and
then you
like,
can have different things like stimulants that affect like the duration of your ability to like produce adrenaline and other things. There's a lot you can do there.
Dude, there's a lot.
That being said, like the skills are cool, but you know, it's a constant balance.
For sure.
I like that they're there, but the discussions will always go ongoing. And yeah, it's tough.
To me, Elite Search is, I think it's still controversial, but to me, it's the perfect. It's so significant when you're playing, when you've grinded for it to be able to search two things at once.
Oh yeah.
Now, but it's one of those things that like you can say like, oh, he searched that guy so much faster and it gave him a. Okay, maybe that's the case, but I don't know. It's the perfect balance. It's the perfect balance of it makes a difference in your gameplay every moment of every raid without ever your opponent would never know it.
Yeah.
And you know, I love that. But some people say it's broken and it needs to be, taken away. No, fuck that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, but
I've only had it once. I've only had
same.
it once.
I've only had it once
for like
time.
A month.
Dude.
Me too.
And
man.
I've never been close to Elite Attention, and Attention lets you instantly search. 25% of the time, you instantly search a container.
Dude,
and
I used to watch.
How many boxes do you have to loot to
Dude,
get that fucking
it's
thing?
unreal.
It's crazy now. It was way easier a few wipes back.
My attention is 13.
God Almighty! I used to watch when I
650
watched
raids.
Quattro race a lot more. Just watching him with Elite Search and Elite Attention just go click, and it was like he'd click the pockets and then he'd click the backpack, and it was like everything in the backpack instantly searched. Yeah. While the pockets are going click. It was like
you gotta find a clip of somebody with because there are people this wipe with Elite Attention. Smitty got it, and a few people are close. You get find a clip of a guy looting an airdrop with Elite Attention. Boom! It's like a standard edition stash just appears in front of you.
See, like, man, like back in the day, you didn't have to go that hard to get skills that like leveled. Man, people are going hard at Tarkov these
Dude,
days.
it's
like,
crazy.
No, back in the day, you used to have to run to shoreline to the fire and stand there
for stress resistance. Yeah.
Remember that?
Or like bust your belly and like med yourself.
Yeah.
Like, other shit. Yeah.
Wasn't there a while where you could like get up into a crouch spot on factory and spam jump, and that would level strength because it used to level strength when you jump.
Yes.
You're like a little Mario jump. Yeah.
The worst exploit for strength that was ever discovered was you used to be able to put a grenade in your hand, and then you could like spam left click, and it wouldn't throw the grenade, but it would give you the strength.
Oh,
that was the first time they added the skills to the game. I remember Cotton discovered that one, I think.
Really?
What about falling through the map and you'd be falling like forever?
So you just like rip,
and you would get elite in like one raid.
In the defense of some people, you used to spawn on woods at the train station, and you would spawn falling through the map, and then you just be like, well, shit, am I a piece of shit, or like, do I wipe my account, or this is just what we're doing now? So
that's insane.
Do
you remember when Smoke Smoke logged into his account one day and all 40 of his skills were elite, all of them?
Oh my God, yes, I remember that.
And he was just like, what? And they I don't remember if he had to reset his account or something. He was obviously a champ about it, but he was just like, what the hell? was so weird.
I forget the circumstances, but I remember that happening.
Yeah.
Yo, I just noticed. So I have the troubleshooting skill. I have 1,000 raids. I'm at like 980 something raids. I'm level 1 troubleshooting. I can fix fucking troubleshootings 1% faster. Like, it's sick, dude.
Yeah.
Like, awesome.
Weapon maintenance is broken right now. The weapon maintenance is a skill you get by repairing guns. It's broken. It hasn't worked since.
Wait, I'm on what do you mean? I have level 5.
Yeah, I have level 5 as well.
Reduce gun wear, reduce probability of wear doing. Wait.
Yeah. I could go from level 1 to level 5 in a single day. You have not gained, like, check your skill points, go repair
18 points.
Go repair a gun and come back. No, it just stopped on a particular day. So whatever your level was at that particular day, it just like I found this out like halfway through. You could go to Fence, you could buy all of the upper receivers that people sell to Fence, repair them all, and sell them back to Fence for 80% of your profit, and you'd get 4 levels of weapon maintenance. Like, it levels quickly, but it's just not leveling right now.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason.
Oh god, dude, I just started the other day to just searching all the filing cabinets and everything. I'm like, all right, maybe I'm gonna start doing search, and I hadn't looked, and I'm
like genuinely
21.
curious. I'm gonna open up. I want to see where my skills are at.
Dude, my search is 15, bro.
I'm never gonna, dude. No, that's the only skill I fucking care about.
It's
dude.
so brutal.
It's the only one I want is search. Like,
it's so brutal. And I search so much, bro. Like, I was so confident the other day. I was like, I've got to be 30, and I was like, 13. I was like, no way, bro.
Rocket launchers level 0.
I
cannot be that high.
Brutal.
Why is rocket launchers not grayed out?
Dude, same with under barrel launchers is not grayed out either.
Yeah, but at least there's like slots for under barrel launchers on like some of the guns that just aren't in the game. But fucking rocket launchers.
Yeah.
Oh
that's like the Tarkov granddaddy or grandfather thing that I can mention is like the fact that under barrel grenade launchers on the AKs were in the game.
Oh,
they like blew up the server.
Yeah,
they crashed the fucking server.
Insane.
Oh well, speaking of crashing, I think my computer may just crash.
Oh no!
Yeah, I'm loading up Tarkov. I swear.
You are a JPEG.
Yep.
You might have to send me another link. You might have to send me another link.
I can hear you perfectly fine.
Well, yeah. Oh, there it is.
There he is.
We're back.
No, it's gonna go, boys. It's gonna go.
07's voice.
I'm gonna let it sit here for a hot second, but I know what's coming.
Dude, that happens all the time. Yeah, I was about to say when you alt tab, that's so weird.
No,
bro.
actually, I might be able to just sit here. Nope. It's gone.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, it's thinking about it though. It's really thinking about it. I'm gonna sit here and not do anything, but I can't see you guys. So
your traders are loading, and you know that it's using all your bits and bytes, Tarkov.
Yeah, all of it.
All the bits and bytes.
Yeah.
One of the last things, at least for me, that I wanted to ask you, Deadly, is like I was playing raids with Markstrom the other day, and this is what got me thinking about this. But I was like, as somebody who's played Tarkov for so long, and as somebody who, like, you know, I've been playing the past few years, and I've gone through all, you know, the 7 stages of grief, all the emotional of like street, you know, in 2018 when I picked up the game, it was, you know, streets next year. You know what I mean? We've had so many promises not delivered. We've had so many surprise things that blew our expectations away. You had things like VoIP come and change the game. We've had new maps. We've had bugs that have persisted. All of it compressed down. As somebody who has played this game for so long and still mains it, like how have you just been feeling about the game? Are you still optimistic about the future? Are you basically just along for the ride at this point? Like, so many people to the game are so new. You know what I mean? Like, it's blown up.
Yeah,
there are so few people.
I heard game was dead.
Yeah, there are so few people that still play that played back in 2016, 2017. So just like, how's it been feeling for you?
Well, I mean, like, if I'm going to be honest, before this most recent wipe, I was probably the most concerned about the future of this game. So to go from like being like fair, like I'm talking like, I think it was, when was the first drops? January 2019?
I believe so. Yeah.
So like, yeah, January 2019 had like the biggest surge of players, like pretty much ever. Oh, I think I'm gonna blue screen.
Oh god.
Oh wow, I'm back. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm gonna just keep talking until if I go, boys, I'll be back. But yeah, like 2019 had like the biggest surge of like player base that we've ever really seen. And every single drops event that seems to happen. And I feel like I can confidently say that we almost have the majority of the people who are playing Tarkov now. It's like the overwhelming majority of them are new.
Yeah.
So it's hot and cold, man, because like I come from DayZ and I was a huge DayZ guy. And if you weren't on that ride, then it's hard to sympathize because people in the chat probably know what I'm talking about. Like I was a huge believer in the project from December 2013, like year after year. And there was a lot of optimism and excitement and a lot of frustrations and bad moments where we would go 6 months without a patch. Then it would go 8 months without a patch.
Oh.
There was even a Christmas patch that released, and the Christmas tree was still up in July of that following year with nothing new. And like, I always remember this. And like, for the record, DayZ Standalone just recently hit its all-time player peak. Modders are keeping the server going. People like Smoke have amazing communities, and for a lot of people, it's in the best state it's ever been, especially in optimization. But that's 2022, and so I've been through moments of supporting a game where there has been nothing but disappointment for over a year. Like, so when people say like, oh, you know, it's been like 4 or 5 months before, like between updates, that doesn't affect me like it affects other people because I've been through it way worse before. Like there are things that were released in I have videos talking about the CZ550 in DayZ. That gun has never come out. I uploaded it in 2015. That video is 7 years old. It never came out. The Safari Magnum CZ550. So I think that's what makes me so patient is because I've been burned so hard in the past. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see the growth. I'm excited to see the changes and where the game is now. But the highs are so high and the lows are so low. So,
and I think, I think that's what keeps me going is like how vocal Nikita and BSG are. Like, people that call me a BSG shill, I just ask them if they've ever watched the podcast, because me and Veritas will gladly lay into something if we think something's a bad decision. So I'm no like apologist for them. Like I think they can't do wrong, but I think what's impressed me and what keeps me hopeful is that through it, if the community is yelling that there's cheaters in every raid, if the community is yelling that the sound is awful, Nikita and BSG are still posting stuff to Reddit, asking the community what, you know what I mean? They're still doing podcasts. We're still getting patches every 4 to 6 months. Like they haven't for a second like worried me that they've gone underground and they're just not, you know what I mean? And that's kind of part of what keeps me going. And then on top of that, I think I agree with you. This wipe was the like home run we needed. New content we were familiar with, new content we weren't familiar with, making what was in the game better while adding new flavor to it. And I think a lot of us just went like, oh, thank God. Like,
it was like, I was very relieved because I was starting to get a little worried because we were seeing like concurrent player numbers, or I was assuming just based off of my encounters with PMCs before 2019 kind of stuff, like 3,000 to 5,000 concurrent player based numbers type shit. So, and I have no evidence to see like what if that was actually the case, but I mean, playing like 2 weeks before the wipe was even announced, it was pretty quiet. So, I'm happy, man. I'm happy to see that it's 2022, and after 5 years, we're still here. It would have been just over 5 years since I started playing the game, and yeah, man, it's awesome. It's great to be a part of this community, and you know, it's a privilege to be in the position where I'm at. And I'm just that Tarkov community, man, has literally changed my life. So what can I say? I mean, I'm gonna be here for as long as I want to be here, and until the next fucking adventure comes my way, and I'll just
till Star Citizen.
Can you Star Citizen, you know, maybe 2030, but probably not, you know, maybe not
to get like sentimental, but like also think about how different the game would be and the community would be without like Deadly. Like how fucking
I don't know.
Dude, no, I mean like
I appreciate
honestly,
the compliment.
There are a ton of content creators, pretty much every content creator I've got tons of respect for. This community is fucking awesome. But yeah, you've definitely been like an anchor for so many people for so long that and not to mention like just the quality content that you've put out that's actually been helpful for the community that helped. If it wasn't there, there was nothing.
Yeah.
You were the only guides, you were the only people sherpaing, you know, via YouTube people into the game. Now there's 1,000 people and whatever, but you were the only one. Think about, I would have never been able to do fucking Pokelim Hobo if it wasn't for one of Deadly's videos. The wiki wasn't there.
I don't want to remember trying to find that fucking thing in that. Oh, and like you had to crouch a certain way.
Bro, I think about that. Like every wipe when I have to do those stupid quests, I always tell my chat, I'm like, imagine not having the wiki and having to figure this stuff out. It's here on customs
we didn't have
somewhere. Like unreal.
So anyway, just to wrap that up, like part of why the game is done well to whatever degree. It's a non-measurable but a non-zero contribution. So like metaphorical, you know, maybe comment section, round of applause, you know, kind of thing.
Well, I appreciate that. It's very nice of you to say. And yeah, it's been a fun journey. So I'm hoping it keeps going.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really hoping that we're entering the new era of Tarkov with this wipe, which is the content engine. You know what I mean? Like so much of Tarkov YouTube has been dominated by guides these past few years, but I'm hoping with VoIP and, you know, maybe some open world, some connected maps on this, like we can almost like start fresh just with like the content machine that is Tarkov. You know what I mean? That's what
I see another fucking video I used to love Tarkov content. I can't watch anymore mostly because I play it so much, but I can't wait till more stuff comes out that isn't, not to like, I don't want to diminish it because it's helpful, but a lot of them tend to be like, here's a video form of one page of the wiki, you know, where it's like, not that there's not value.
That's me,
I mean, there is, you know, because people like that and it keeps them entertained and it's educational and it's like great. But yeah, man, I can't wait for something other than that because there are enough people in the community that don't need a fucking guide on, you know, either how to make money or whatever. Again, there's tons of value in it, but selfishly, you know, I can't wait for more of that. Storytelling.
Those JLK videos.
What I'm like in Tarkov. I'll end with that. The last time I felt that feeling, Veritas, was whenever I found the secret ammo behind Dickhead Rock.
Oh yes.
And I was like, holy shit. Because there was no one else was talking about it. There was one reference to it on the subreddit about some guy talking about how he found SPP ammo.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is something. And then it was a pure mistake. I was tracking a guy who had a Mosin. He reloaded the Mosin and shot the cartridge out of the gun. And I was like, my perception dot popped up because I had 51 at the time. I looked down and picked up like 4 stacks of full PS ammo.
Yeah, like 4 stacks of 40. Yeah.
4 stacks of 40. And we're like, what the fuck is this? And then we'd come back and BP. We'd come back and it would be M61. And we're just like,
was that a bug? I remember when that happened, but I never
it was. So the ammunition, it would happen when Sturman was up. And the ammunition that the guards would use would spawn there. So in full stacks. So if they were running SKs, it'd be full stacks of BP.
Yeah.
Like M61, full stacks of
on
M61.
purpose?
Dude, I don't
nope. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
What a weird bug.
That was the last time where I think
Didn't you find some on Sniper Rock too? Or was that
Oh yeah, the Sniper Rock stuff. Yeah. Whenever you would like climb up there before they added it up, the sniper scav ammo would spawn in like a crevasse and full stacks, but it wasn't nearly as good as like LPS and PS 545. So
dude, if you want to make content that nobody else is making, there's plenty of people who you can just say are wrong about things. that works for me, dude. And you know what? It'll be great. It'll be great for your reputation.
Oh my goodness. Hey man, you know what though? I've learned a lot. You know what I mean? And I know people give you a hard time sometimes, but hey man, you're doing a lot of data digging and you're doing a lot of work that I sure as shit wouldn't fucking do. I'll tell you that. Because that's a lot of work, man. That's a lot of hours. I mean, getting the freaking rangefinder and getting some guy to run down the street and like taking the notes and like Oh man, it kind of reminds me of the old like Oswaldo Anton vids from back in the
Yes,
day.
bro.
Yeah, it kind of gives me that kind of vibe, you know.
Dude,
and no one's
honestly,
really doing that anymore. So
that was, I mean, that was one of
Yeah.
the first like Tarkov science stuff was Anton and the armor guys.
100%.
and the
And
armor
some-
guy, yep.
I mean, that was how I knew Anton. I watched his videos before I even knew like who he was, basically, because he was the guy that would, and then I think his content, evolved away from that, or maybe he just lost interest in doing the test every like fucking 6 weeks or whatever. That something changed where it just became boring for him. But yeah, I mean, here we are.
Here we are. Tarkov continues to get ever more complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's everything I had. Veritas, did you have anything else you want to ask?
I mean, the only other thing that I can talk about quickly is I'd been sitting on that red key card I found in Shoreline for like a month, trying to convince Nikita to fix the fees on the flea market because I wanted to sell it for 20 or 30 million, but it's a 60% fee.
Yeah.
And I've literally never had enough rubles this wipe
to sell it,
to be able to sell it. Now, I had the choice the other day. Was fucking just bored and had gotten, I'm done with the Kappa quest. I just need to get to level 62. Right now I'm 51. It was like, do I want to take the best trade right now, which is 35 GPUs, which I should have taken, spoiler alert, or do I want to just take it into labs because I've been having good labs rates, like multiple weeks of nobody sketchy. I decide to take the red key card in and I die in the first, I've done 10 raids. In the first 7 raids, I died before I would spawn right next to Red Room, and before I could unlock the door and get in, I'd be dying. So I thought that was, it's anecdotal and maybe, it's nothing, but
yeah.
But also the average value, I have a fucking spreadsheet. I was going to do
like
50 runs. I got a spreadsheet. The average value so far has been roughly equivalent to, the big green box between violet and red, the one crate. I've found more rubles in the green crate than I have in Red Room, and violet is like 10 times. So right now, assuming I get out of every single raid and I loot everything of value in there and I sell it all in the flea market for market value, it's going to take me about 150 raids surviving before I'm going to get the 15 million ruble.
Does that include the price of the card?
Well, I found it.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, well, actually, the price of the access card. Well, fuck, no, because that's assuming I'm. Wait a minute,
start doing 300 raids, man.
Think about that because
maybe 400.
Wait, because it's 166,000, and my average so far is under 150. Fuck.
And if
you're fucked, bud. Yeah,
no, I wish you hadn't pointed that out.
Dude.
No.
And if you run out of cards, it's only one every 3 hours. So even if you average it out to 300 raids you need, that 300 raids is going to take you like in 6 months.
What about
Dude,
purple? What's purple like right now?
Fucking amazing, dude. I found a Linux in there. I found a Bitcoin. There's always suppressors and attachments. The best thing I found, there was one red card, one red room that had a Bitcoin and a lion and a gold chain. That was the best one, and that was 1 out of like 15 so far. But yeah, now that I realize that it's 160,000
I'm
rubles.
happy to hear purple's doing good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dude,
I should have got the 35 GPUs.
Labs, dude. Labs is a big just monka. Not even cheating, man. Like I feel like I don't get cheated there often. It's just like blech.
It's like it's the flow state of playing that map for like hundreds, if not thousands of raids if you're a labs main. And just knowing where someone's gonna sit on audio queue, who's going to be hiding in what corner, how to move through a doorway and spray it like head height. And you do that. I feel like a lot of people think they're getting cheated on, but you're just getting played by people who only played labs.
You're just getting and I can't hang. And I can't hang, bro.
And I can't hang either, so I stay outside. Man.
I did.
I stay in the woods.
I had a weekly. I needed the weekly. All I had to do was turn in an SJ6, an SJ1, and an AHFM. You can craft SJ6s and you can craft SJ1s. So I had those turned in on the day one. I had to play like 14 labs raids with a homie that had black key card. I was buying Sanitar's key card, and it was gross. I hated it. I died almost every single raid. It was just like I just couldn't play. I just couldn't play the map. I think I killed 1 PMC all 14 raids. So we finally got the stim, and I was like, dude, see you later.
It's a different game.
It's a different game. It's Arena Light, You know what I mean? That's what people want to go do. And then the loot, how good or bad the loot is like how good or bad the loot feels is determined by the players who are playing it a lot, because they feel like they want to be able to get enough out of it to basically justify playing labs, which is understandable, but it's basically arena light. I actually have, there's not enough time to go into it, but soon, Veritas, and I maybe one day I'll talk to you about it daily too, but I have an idea for keys. Like I think the keys, the whole key system is just like rough right now, especially like labs keys, because it's all engineered around farming. Like the loot can't be too good, because then you can farm it with your key that never expires. And then, so it has to be bad enough that they're assuming you're going to get the value of the key over the course of a few hundred raids.
Which means if you don't farm it, it's never worth it.
Is exactly. So the TLDR is, in my opinion, if we're just talking about labs, the TLDR is, my opinion, all the colored key cards should be one-time use. They should not be sellable or purchasable on the flea market. You adjust the spawn rate of them to basically make them equally as rare as they are now. But like, does that make sense? Like, if you would find one green card in 1,000 raids, maybe let's find 100 green cards in 1,000 raids, because that's still only 100 swipes of green, as opposed to one green card found in 1,000 raids is an infinite swipe of green. Now we've got more people going to labs, and because you can't buy or sell them on the flea market, you could freaking crank the loot up, feel like you won the lottery when you found a green key card, go take it in, and cash money. I think that's infinitely better than engineering the loot all around. Well, if Johnny farms it 63 times, he'll have made, it's just like, no, like, so it's bad. So red is bad. It's terrible because of that. 48 million ruble key where you can get a lion and a gold chain. You can go get that in the freaking duffel bag in Shoreline. So that's my thing. I want it to.
I'll think about that, and we can talk about that next week.
Feel like treasure. You know what I mean? I want to feel like I found something.
I want to feel the treasure.
I want to feel it, and then I want to swipe that key card, and I want to open it, and I want like a SOP mod M4, a G28, and then maybe a LED.
But you know what's going to happen? Someone's
going
to sit in the corner behind the box and hear the
the
swipe of the card, and then head tap.
Dude,
thanks for the key card swipe, idiot.
I mean, just get better, clear your corners. I don't know. So, but that's a whole deep conversation.
Oh man, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about that. So
you'll have to come back. You'll have to come back sometime. You're always fucking welcome.
Well, guys, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate that.
100%.
I think we had a good night of conversation, and especially like diving deep into the skill system. It's I've definitely learned something, especially about audio today, and I hope some of the listeners did as well, because sounds like you put a lot of work into that video that's going to be coming out. So sounds awesome.
And I think it's good. It's so good to get you out here and just like talk about Tarkov outside of the context of like streaming it, talking to chat, and trying to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just fun to like take an hour or two and talk about the game without having to worry about, hear a bush and then where was I in that conversation? So it's really cool to get your thoughts. Thank you so much. For those who either came late or just starting to listen, this will be live on the podcast YouTube channel early next week. Once again, please go check out, if you haven't yet, you're insane, but please go check out DeadlySlob's Twitch channel, YouTube. You're easily, I'm pushing 1 million channel points in the DeadlySlob.
Oh, man.
I'm in there. I'm a mad
maybe
spreadsheet
we'll do something
crew.
with them. Maybe there'll be a reward, but probably not.
Probably I don't care. At this point, I don't even want to spend them. I just want to see how many I can get. You know what I mean? So please, if you're listening to this on any of the platforms later or tonight, go check out Deadly. Thank you so much for hanging, man. I appreciate it. Awesome. We will definitely see you guys on the next one.
Peace.